two, two.
In Limpopo, when we want to call for order, we say Jielala. So I hope that will work, although I know this is not a tradition, but Jielala. And I can tell that Jieleji inside, still a little bit of a problem outside, but as long as we can hear each other in here, that should be good. Good evening, good evening. Are we all good? You're not tired? Okay, you can't be tired. Especially given this session that is about to kick off now. We have kept the names as they are there, but they are surprises. They are surprises in terms of the participants. But let me first introduce myself, because I don't think my... Yeah, but what happened there? Okay, I'm not Mbulelo Changana. He's my colleague. He's the Director General of DCOC, which is the Department of Cooperative Governance. In COCTA, the ministry, I received an invitation from the organizers that I come and join you this evening for this very important discussion where we are focusing on the building of a capable and ethical state, but we're trying to do a cross-fertilization of experiences from research, academia, from practitioners, and we're going right across the three spheres of government. So, what we're going to do, going to spend the next hour and a half up to 8 o'clock. I hope that you will be able to bear with us. The discussions are really going to get heated. So you're going to enjoy it, I promise you. And we'll be having an interactive session with our panelists, whom I'm going to invite to join me here. Very nice sitting arrangements here, I can see. So first up, of course the name was there, the Executive Mayor of Tshwane, Her Worship, Dr. Nasipi Moya. Yeah, I think because you came first, that may be easier to dash out when it gets hot. So it's a very good position to sit there. She is joined, and I think the name was there, by two municipal managers. So the municipal manager for Collins Chabani municipality here in Limpopo, here in Bembe. The name is Mr. Richard Shilenge. Let's welcome him, please. Okay, last but not least is the municipal manager of Musina municipality, also here in Limpopo, here in Bembe. The name is Mr. Nathaniel Chiwanambi, Nat for short. We were expecting the municipal manager for Waterbeck, was really I was really looking forward to hearing, you know, Waterberg was one of the first 3 districts when the DDM was piloted. So it was OR Tambo in Eastern Cape, eThekwini in KZN, and the only one in Limpopo was Waterberg. And so it's part of the initial first 3 districts where the DDM was piloted. So I was looking forward to very interesting engagement with the MM of Waterberg, how they have walked this journey and what lessons they have to share with other municipalities and districts as well. I also am aware that you also saw the name of the acting HOD of KZN. I'm told that she's also not able to join us, so this will be our panelist. What we will do is we'll first up just give them a few minutes just to do an opening statement each about this important topic that brings us here today. We hear a lot of things about the building of an ethical and capable developmental state. And it's been on the table for a long time. And some are asking the question, are we making progress? Is it just something that we talk about and we reflect in the medium-term strategic framework? Later we export it to the medium-term development plan, and we talk about it all the time, but are we making progress? If we are making progress, what are the indicators that the state we are having is becoming more and more ethical, it's becoming more and more capable, and it's becoming more and more developmental? And in that space, you are going right across. Local, provincial, and national. So it becomes important to share those kinds of experiences, share those kinds of lessons. We read all the reports about the audit from the Auditor General, and we just hope that we don't read more reports about Dizobotla. And questions get asked about the interventions that get introduced, 139 this, 139 that, 154, financial recovery plan. And journalists will even tell you that this particular municipality has been moving from one intervention to another. So are our interventions making a difference? I said to the colleagues that I would also want us to talk about what particularly pertains in what you may call rural municipalities. Now, Tshwane doesn't necessarily qualify as a rural municipality, but one of the things Tshwane shares with these municipalities is that it's the only municipality in Gauteng that has traditional leaders. I can see the surprise on your faces that perhaps you didn't know that there are traditional leaders in Gauteng, 2 of them, senior traditional leaders. So how do we interface with them? I think the 2 colleagues, that's their daily bread. They deal with that all the time. So how do we interface with it, and how does this fit into this bigger discussion that we are having about building a capable, ethical, developmental state? What about professionalization of local governments? We've heard a lot about professionalization of the public service, and there's a framework that has been approved by cabinet, and there's work that is being done. What is being done? What are the experiences? What are the challenges? What are the lessons? We will tease out this and a number of other issues arising from the conversation that we'll have. So I'll first give them a few minutes each to present a brief opening statement in relation to these issues, as well as the theme of the conference, and then thereafter I'll come back with a few follow-up questions, and a little later we'll come back to the audience as well to give you an opportunity to interact with our panel. All right, are we good thus far? Somebody, Prof, said the only thing they remember from a maths class is Are we together, class? Other than that, they don't remember anything from a math class. Are we together, class? So, it's not you. Okay, all right. No, that's good. So please help me welcome. I'm going to do it by order of seniority. No, actually, let me do it by order of protocol. The executive mayor will come last, by order of protocol. So I'm going to start with the municipal managers, but in no particular order. Let us start with Collins Chabani. Let's start with Collins Chabani on their opening statement. Over to you. Yeah, it's got the microphone. Okay.
Yes, I do. Thanks, DG. When I was in my basic education, I used to enjoy the advantage of being the last because my surname starts with S. But today I happen to lead the municipality that is at the top there. Yeah, SC is very close. Thanks for your introduction. I'm from a very rural municipality. Very rural meaning every corner of that entity. You talk of traditional leaders. The question that we always ask every day, whether we go to your SIGFARO National Conference, your SALGA, they will talk about professionalizing local government. I remember one day, DG, I had to deliver an address regarding the issue of professionalizing local government. There was a question that I will keep on asking throughout my presentation to say, what do we actually mean by professionalizing local government? Because for us to build a capable state, obviously we need warm bodies that are capable, those who can do it. And of course, it begins with professionalization. The question that I kept asking was, are we professionalizing local government? If you hire an MM with good qualifications, with good experience, but you put up a councillor who doesn't even have standard 10, are we professionalizing local government? So much as we'll want to talk about this, but are we doing the right thing? We want to build a capable state, and for us to build this capable state, let us make sure that we do the right thing. You know, I wish whatever that we're talking about here does not just end up as a talk show, because we're talking to professors, doctors, good researchers, who after this talk will go and broaden this topic through research. Just on Sunday, DG, I was sharing with some participants here to say, you know, there is a growing gap between academy and practice, because a professor will say, student, be ready, next month we are starting with our research topics. And every student will be scratching their head, you know, what is it that I can think about? And if we want to build a capable state, which is underpinned by institution of higher learning, we should do it vice versa. Before you could ask your student to come up with topics, if those who want to make topics about municipalities, take them to municipalities so that they hear our real practical issues in municipalities. Then when they come back, they will give you good topics. You know, every day we receive requests, letters. Hey, I want to do research on this and this and this and this. And you know, I've got a book wherein I list all these research topics. And at the end of the month, I find that I've got plus minus 40 topics, and all of them, they don't make any impact to the entity that I'm running. And now the issue is, if we want to build a capable state, let's close this gap between academy and practice. The last thing, as I introduce or give this background, is the issue of traditional leaders. I know we're going to talk much about it. Even the DG touched on it. You know, a person who have never been to a village like myself, when you are told about a traditional leader, you will think of somebody who, but what is their role? What is the impact that they may make in building a capable state? I'm going to tell you today that rural as we are as College Chabane, through traditional leaders, we are managing to do a lot of things. One DG, for your information, I got you today. When we started College Chabane municipality, we only had 2 towns. That is Malamlele and Vuane. But through proper interactions with traditional leaders, today as I speak, we have got a new township at Shikundu, which is proclaimed. We have got another new township at Majozi, which is proclaimed. We have got another private township, Nandoni Estate, and we've got another private one called Kuna City in Kuzana. And this managed to happen through proper interaction with traditional leaders. I will talk a lot, but let me allow others to talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a township, but it's an estate, Nandoni. Okay, all right. Okay, let's proceed. Let's proceed. Now we're going to hear experiences from Musina, the opening statement, and then we will then hand over to the Honorable Mayor.
Thank you very much, DG. My younger brother here has already covered a whole lot of space. A younger brother, yes, of course, in terms of this municipality was only established 5-6 years ago. Musina has always been there. It's older than many of us. Yeah, thank you very much, DG. I think just to start off, DG, for those of you that we sat in one of the commissions or the sessions earlier on, I had actually said the discussion on local government in line with the theme of the conference needs a lot of time. Obviously, when participants see an accounting officer and local government as a topic, the expectation is that it should be a matter of bread and butter for a municipal manager. But I'm telling you, it is not. In local government, we learn on a daily basis. It is a very difficult space. It comes with a lot of challenges. The colleagues that I worked with previously, in every conference that I'm invited, they would always say, but here is an that has always been in a space. Maybe you should tell us how you survived. I'm telling you, we're not surviving, we are suffocating. It is not an easy space. That is in the context of professionalizing local government. It is very difficult in a sense that community expects more than what you should actually be covering as a municipality. There is a need for a greater understanding of community members, structures that we work with, on the mandate, roles and responsibilities of local government. I'm happy that the of Collins Chabane has spoken about the political principles. It's a space that obviously, even in the commission or the session I said, maybe the researcher should do a research a proper research on that space, which we then seek to make it easy for us to render services to the community. We are trying on a daily basis. There are things that you might not necessarily know. And even if I'm to explain them, it becomes very difficult for you to accept because they seem impossible. But that becomes a policy matter which is bigger than me and the community that I'm expected to service, unfortunately. But if we are to do things the right way, I think the Honorable Premier yesterday, she spoke about the right way, and it was the right way and the what? The right way and the right thing. That is exactly what we do on a daily basis. But getting back to that, you would adopt an environment and a system that is covered with so much resistance based on understanding of a simple vision. You want to drive a vision that would render an effective service to the community. But we have the capacity and the capability to drive that vision. It is not very easy, but just a practical example, DG, when I got into the institution where I was, few years down the line, when we're trying to line up programs, we then agreed that based on the capacity that we have, we need to focus on training of own employees. I'm telling you, we did that. Out of almost 30 level 3 managers, just less than 3% had at least a formal qualification. But as I present, I have almost 99% with formal qualifications. With the first qualification moving to the honors level, some are already at the honors level. But then again, the problems that we encounter as municipalities, as I am talking about the roles and responsibility, the mandate and stuff, where is sector departments in playing the role that they need to play? We, as much as we appreciate the trainings that we get year in, year out, I'm telling you, in a rural municipality like Thulamela, a rural municipality like Musina, where I come from, the basic things that we need is roads, water, and electricity. But the kind of training that we get from sector departments year in, year out, unfortunately, they do not address that space. As much as I'm saying and you're clapping that at least almost 99% they've got formal qualifications. But how relevant is the formal qualifications to the challenges that I'm faced with on a daily basis? And of course, as much as we're saying they must get qualifications, I am also not an engineer myself. Maybe I should have led by example to first do engineering because we're talking roads and water. But that is something that as government, maybe we should look at bridging that gap. Then the last point for now that I would want to speak to DG is the traditional leadership, the interface between us and the traditional leadership. The setup here is very simple and straightforward. Fortunately, they are represented in our councils. There is engagements, constant engagements for that matter. I think in the session that I sat in earlier on, one of the members was saying, but you guys might not necessarily be doing consultation. I am saying we are doing more than consultation. The budget that we have for consultation, the effectiveness of consultation, we'll speak about that at a later stage. But we've got the physical meetings with community structures, different structures. We've got your Facebook page. I think Musina also won an award of the best communicator 2-3 years ago. It was awarded by Salga. And these are the information, some of the things that we communicate with members of the public. We do Facebook, we do bulk SMS, we do notices. But I'm telling you, including members of the conference, all municipalities, when they advertise their IDP for comments, I don't think there's anyone who might have made comments or submitted comments to the municipality. But the comments we make are very informal on the street, that there are potholes, there's this and that. We are engaging elderly citizens in the rural communities because we are all in big cities. You have left the villages, but municipalities are still running. And we are still obliged to meet with those that are that are remaining behind. But as part of the innovative way to try and transform rural communities, on my part, it was basically about revenue enhancement. We had an engagement with traditional authority to an extent that we agreed on a donation which is meant to be a rural formalization or a peri-urban township kind of. The setup was going to be, or the MOU between us and the traditional authorities, that there would always be Chiprimbogo Willie. You do understand Chiprimbogo? In the rural communities under traditional authorities, DG, there must be a Chiprimbogo. You first go to the traditional leader before you could own that property. But that we were doing not to take away the powers from the traditional authorities, because we regard them as a critical stakeholder. As I said, they also sit in our council. Then based on the arrangement, obviously just to register and be sent to the municipality will then do the formalities of allocating a site to a member, obviously with a fee. But the formalization would then mean to us easy access for services, collection, and any other service that would want to render to communities. Because we are still servicing those communities, unfortunately, at no benefit for now. But the kind of setup that we have introduced, DG, would assist us going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very interesting insights. Indeed, I think we'll later come back to you to just share a little bit more about the journey you have traveled to improve the capacity levels and the qualifications, the way you were explaining, because it immediately says to me that there is also probably a good retention strategy in the municipality, because otherwise you will have people that you train, they qualify, and they leave, they go to the urban areas, like you were saying, that we go to urban areas. But somehow you seem to have been able to retain quite a big cohort of the people that you have been working with. I also see a master's or PhD research topic coming up here. I noted it down. Between surviving and suffocating, the dynamics of local governance in post-apartheid South Africa, a case study of Musina. Let's hear from the Executive Mayor of Tshwane.
Thank you so much, DG. Good evening. I will say all protocols observed. I tried to see if the mayor is here. Just to be safe, I must acknowledge the mayor in case they chuck me out. So it's very important. But I think, DG, what I appreciate so far is that you're not expecting theory and methodology from us. This group has got that covered. I think it's important that we tell you what is happening on a daily basis, just to enrich the conversation. So, you said you're suffocating. Yesterday I was saying, there must be a therapy drive-through. From the office, drive-through therapy, and then you go home. That's the level of suffocation that is in local government. The needs, the resources, they don't match. And every single day you have a hero in a community that wants to show you up about an issue that you can help. And that's the reality of local government. But I think in terms of just presenting the city of Tshwane as a case study, so city of Tshwane has over 4 million residents, and the population has doubled since 2011. So 2011, we were just above 2 million. This year, we're above 4 million. And this is one of the issues that when we talk about professionalization, we can unpack the assumptions that we have there. But whether we've got the skills that, that can adapt to the growing need and demand for our services. But the city of Tshwane is a bit complex. in a sense that this is a city that, if you trace the history of South Africa, the city is over 160 years old, but the democratic municipality is 25 years old. Obviously, that gives you a character of a society that has deep inequalities. The people that used to be under Boputatswane are still left out. No services, they left out. But then when you go to areas like Centurion, they've got bulk infrastructure. You go to Waterkloof, everything is all set up. And that's the reality, to say, when you have this budget, where you know that majority of it is going to come from Centurion, from a specific demographic, and you must take those resources and take them to Hammanskraal. Already there are tensions within the community itself. But also you then have, we've got students, over 300,000 students in our city. We've got foreign missions, we've got interns and first-time employees that come to work for government. So we have quite a dynamic city. But then when you then look at state capacity, I think just to take it back, when we're looking for state capacity, DG, we are looking to deliver on the promise of the Constitution of this Republic, which, among other things, promise that we're not only going to heal the divisions of the past, but we're going to improve all lives of the people of South Africa. And so we're not looking for a strong state for the sake of it. We want a state that will be able to deliver to the people of South Africa. Now, we then have this instrument that is government. Government is made up of politicians and public servants, or call them officials. And I can just sense the frustration of the MM. I'm a mayor with a PhD, so I take them on in the boardroom. I know exactly how to read reports, so I tell them what needs to go in, but that's not how our society is. We've had reports, COCTA has tried to drive this for quite a number of years, where you have to respect the wisdom of the Constitution that says there must be checks and balances. But the practicality of it, unfortunately, MM, is that the political system is such that it's for it's popularity contest. You're not gonna get the most intellectually capable person or the most educated person, because in this country we're still dealing with inequalities. Now, when you then say, so how do you expect this councillor who did not finish grade 12, but popular enough to be a ward councillor and popular enough to be elected as the mayor in council, how do you then make sure that he still delivers on ensuring there are checks and balances by ensuring there's oversight? So there's that part. But then I always, for me, I trust the MM with all my life, because I'm saying if he does anything wrong, he's going to get arrested. So that's my threat to my city manager. You're going to get arrested. Now I trust you. As long as you understand, if you do anything wrong, you're going to get arrested. But then what we then want is professionalizing the public service. And the question that I ask DG every time this comes up, when we're discussing the white paper review, I asked, what are your assumptions? If you have 23,000 employees in the city of Tshwane that applied for a job, submitted CVs, copies of qualifications, what do we mean professionalize? What is it that we didn't do? What does it mean on a daily basis? And what we are not saying explicitly is that our government system is corrupted to the core. That's what we're trying to solve for, but we don't say it. The fact that you will find that I can bet my last cent 40% of public servants live in mansions. They live way above their means because they've used the state to enrich themselves. Now, because politicians have been enabled to be enriched through this system, instead of saying, we have a corrupted public servant, and I'm talking as a mayor, one of the former TMPD officers got arrested today for hijacking a truck with TRT members, today. Earlier this year, I had 3 officials in our electricity department being arrested publicly for stealing transformers. The month before, we arrested a lady who corrupted our revenue base. Now, you can deal with skills and capacity building, That is the easiest part. What we do not have, and that's what we're trying to solve for, is to say, when we say professionalize, we're actually looking for patriotic South Africans to help us to deliver on the promise of the Constitution, which says that with the resources that we have, we still have to deal with the divisions of the past and the inequality that came through the apartheid system. And so for me, I don't want us to code this professionalization. I want us to unpack it. Exactly what does it mean on a daily basis? You know, we've had so many stories. I always joke, I'm from Tata, that's my home, in a village called Mpikwana there. We were told if you go to KSD to look for an official, what they do, they leave a jacket and a cigarette lit. Then you get an impression the person is around because the cigarette is there, and the person is long gone. Those are the jokes that we are making about officials of government. And so when we say we're professionalizing, why are we scared of saying exactly the daily lived experience of South Africans when they interact with government? And so the last part I want to make, so I don't go too deep into this, is where we are as South Africa. A few weeks ago, someone said we are a failed state. But there's a Harvard report that said, no, we are a collapsing state. What it means is that as we sit here, and I had an address of some student on Sunday, and I was saying South Africans are uneducated. This is the elite of this country. We're not even like a chunk of what you can use to build a capable state. There's too few of us. And we are scattered, we are fragmented, we're not organized. And the problem that we have, if you're talking about a capable state, it means you must grow your own timber that in 15 years is going to take over from the people that are here. That's what it means. And so my problem that I have with this country, it makes me lose my peace, is how uneducated our people are. Because what it means to me, we can be a collapsing state now, but it tells you would have collapsed by the time they must take over because you would not have prepared them for it. On the traditional authorities, I think we have a very tense relationship with them, in a sense that it's an artificial relationship. It's managed by province, and we can't give them services because the moment we do, AG says it's unauthorized expenditure. It's not a city. It's not a city property, so you can't spend any money on it. And while we have a good relationship with them, but it's still artificial. And I'm keen to hear what you are doing, because I think the MOU route that we are trying in Tshwane, because now what we have done, we've just fragmented the community or excluded a whole chunk of the community by saying we can't serve your communities. But I think we do have a healthy relationship, but I think we still need to do more on that. So those would be my opening remarks. Thanks, DG.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think on the traditional leadership side, there will be lessons to learn. They don't seem to be worrying about the relationship with the provincial government and them as a municipality. So I think there would be a useful exchange there. I just want to test something, because, you know, when things go wrong, we tend to want to look back many years ago, before the current system of local government, before the current system that we have in the public service, and ask the question, aren't there things that were done in the past that perhaps we should be considering? We had a short discussion about this over lunch, and we're saying that if you look at most parts of the Commonwealth from whom we learned when it comes to establishment of some of the institutions, the public service commissions, or civil service commissions as they call them, are recruitment and selection bodies. So the recruitment and selection of officials is not done by departments. It's centralized. And they run systems of examinations, all those kinds of things, and then they assign the people that have gone through the system. Now, with the work on the professionalization of the public service, the amendments that are being proposed, I know there are proposals about the Public Service Commission getting increasingly involved, but it will be constrained by the Constitution. It won't run recruitment and selection the way it should be. Now that we have a process on the review of the white paper on local government, what would be your thoughts about going the radical route of saying, let's change the way recruitment and selection gets done and take it away from those who are doing it and are doing it incorrectly? Will it cause a crisis?
Thanks, DG. Let me start here. I think as South African local government, you have started as COCTA with in that regard. I'm taking it from the space that the area that makes our municipalities more fragile is officials that are more on contracts, because those are the most vulnerable. You did a very good job, DG, by permanenting the senior managers. You just left with municipal managers. You know, when you are a permanent employee, it is always easy for you to put your foot down and say, this I can't do. But if you are contractual and somebody who appointed you is just next to you and is the one that might be giving you whatever instruction that you think you can carry, it is always problematic. Let me give you a simple example. The council will appoint an MM. You see, Shlenga, we are giving you 5 years, and you must work well with us. Yeah? You see. And I know my 5 years is rooted in me working well with my council. And that is practical, and that is what we experience every day. And if there are problems, before they are known, I need to find a way of how do I fix them. Because those who appointed me are just close and next to me. And DG, I'm just imagining one day, if you can permanent municipal managers, and my council know that they can't do anything about me, what will happen? Because then I know I'm a free man. I can implement the policies as far as I can go, you know. I heard one of my colleagues saying, in Africa, in some of the African states, they have centralized appointment of these big positions, you know, your HODs, DGs, whatever. It is just being done in a central place. It has got its own pros and cons, because if you have got a very powerful political leader, he may manipulate the system and put his relatives, girlfriends, whatever. You find that the whole country belongs to one man, you know. But if that system, for example, can be properly implemented, then you know qualified people with experience, with skills, are going to be deployed to different spaces of local government all over the country. And then you are sure of a capable state in that regard. You know, I just want to say this before I take off. On professionalization, my executive mayor. As my MM said here, that we are a new entity. It is true. We just started in 2016. And one decision that I took was to say, if there is an intern that come to our space, we must make sure we don't leave those young girls and boys. Once they finish their internship, we absorb them. And I'm happy because that DG we have done. All the interns that came to our space, they are currently our permanent employees. But now, how do you do that? Obviously, you expect that support from the executive mayor here, because when I go and report the executive mayor, this is what I want to do. In trying to professionalize our institution. You know, we in our management meeting, DG, we laugh. And I have introduced this concept of laughing at each other. If you are not educated, we laugh at you. And they know, that is what I do. I said, I'm a living example. I went to school and have 3 master's degree. So follow me. You see? And I think, I'm not afraid of any qualified person who apply in our institution. I have appointed people with PhDs in College Chavan. The manager legal in our institution has PhD in law. Our senior manager for community services has PhD in environmental science. So I'm educated and I'm not afraid of any educated person to come in the space. Now, for us to make sure that we carry on with this, I think, DG, South Africa do not have that potential of one man being too powerful. No, I don't see it happening. Let's centralize appointment of these senior people in the public service. Starting from DGs in the office of the president down to a municipal manager. We should be appointed from a central point where I know that that DG doesn't even know my face, but he has just looked at my experience, my papers, and appointed, say, here is a capable somebody. Let's deploy this person in that municipality somewhere in Eastern Cape. Because the other issue that is troubling us, as I conclude, we are a state I'm happy the executive mayor has mentioned that, you know. The issues of your apartheid, even if we don't want to talk about it, it is still haunting us even today. If you want to test it, take Shilenge and BNMM in one municipality in Eastern Cape, and you see the reaction of people there. They might not go to the street and say, this Mchangana must go. But either way, they are going to react. And when you look at the reaction, you could see already here, these are just the perpetuation of apartheid government. It is still there. You know, so those are the things that we come across. But I would suggest, DG, take away the powers of appointing from our councils. Don't beat me, my executive mayor. But I'm suggesting, take away the powers so that the people who come in and be a city manager in Tshwane, it's not a person, it's the person of the state. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, centralize, make us permanent, and let's deal with what is called Ngwana Mubu problem in our provinces. If you're not coming from here, you don't belong to this area. But of course, that concept of a powerful person employing their girlfriends, we will just edit that a little bit and say partners. just to be representative. Let's hear from you, MM.
Yeah, thank you very much, DG, once more. DG, I am a bit intimidated here.
The 3 master's degrees.
And the doctor that side. They might start laughing at me. But I'm getting there. I think, Prof. John, in the past 2 days, majority of the people that I was introduced to here is Dr. someone, Dr. something, Prof. something. And the truth is I was truly inspired. And how I so wish we could have a local government that would also have people introduced at that level. But we are getting there. I think with this concept, DG, that we're working towards, very soon it might land us there. I think the first part, I think my view here is that just put it straight, raw as it is, it's just the protection of administrators. Maybe it's what researchers should also start looking at. If we are indeed looking at effective service delivery, and you're putting men and women behind the operator's seat who are not protected, I'm telling you, we are not going anywhere. We have been in the space for quite some time. I was fortunate to be in the second term of a municipal manager position. But the truth of the matter is that in the first 5 years, unless otherwise, Honorable Mayor, you are putting systems in place in the first 5 years. If you are so unfortunate to do your 5 years, your legacy might not be realized because people might not necessarily see the systems. But nothing that comes after you might then hold the trophy, which is something else. I'm not too sure whether we would want the accounting officers to be permanent. Obviously, selfishly, so I would say yes, they must be permanent. But my view is that at least if it is something beyond 5 years, because these 5 years, unfortunately, is aligned to the term of the political principles, even though it gives an allowance of 12 months into the new administration. And I'm telling you, into the 3rd year, the focus is no longer there. You start looking for a job because you're not too sure whether you're still safe or not. Other countries are already practicing it. It's just that it's in a different setup. I know Zimbabwe, which is our neighbor, because of the twinning agreement that we have with them. Municipal managers in Zimbabwe are permanent, and they're also appointed by central government, which is a national government in their context. Visited another country wherein the same setup, municipal managers are appointed at a national level. Unfortunately, you are not appointed for a specific municipality. You are a municipal manager, you get deployed to a municipality that needs your services, which is very simple. Shelenge is from a corporate background. I am from a town planning background. Where there is town planning related challenges, then that automatically becomes my stronghold. Then my deployments should be channeled towards such municipalities. Where there are systems and corporate and skills challenges, it becomes more relevant and he assists. In a case wherein the new administration for very genuine reason, they cannot work with a particular administrator. Then they present their story to the central government. Then amicably he's moved to a municipality that he would work freely and be effective. Yeah, I think DG, most of these things are already covered by Collins Chavan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, They want to be protected. I don't know whether it's protected from you, your worship. It might be that you also want to be protected from them. Let's hear from you.
Thank you so much, DG. I think the first thing, just from this, you know, I've heard phrases like, this is not our person. No, it's been said to me, but this is not our person. And it talks to the culture in the public service, colleagues. It's not an isolated case. That politicians, so in Tswane you've got 23,000 employees and 214 councillors. And councillors feel very helpless and useless because these people are overpowering us. They control departments, they control the budget, they do this, they do that. But that can only come from someone who doesn't understand the system, how it works, but also someone with nefarious intentions. Because this desire to own a system that belongs to the people, that's nefarious, that we know. But just on what the MMs have raised, and I've raised this issue, so Tswane has made HODs permanent since 2017 or 2018. And when that happens, the motivation was that we need stability and we need continuity. And so the retaining of those expertise, a person who started exactly what is saying, that the first 3 years you're putting in the systems, the last 2 years you're trying to implement, before you know it, you're out of your job. The new administration comes in, they chuck you out, they bring another person. So that was the motivation. Whoa. The investigation reports on those people. They use that permanency to institutionalize their corruption because now they are comfortable. That's the downside. And when we receive AG reports, MMs, I always say, if you're looking at the architecture of local government or in municipality, what the Systems Act says in terms of roles and responsibilities, what MFMA says. When there's a 10 billion rand of irregular expenditure, who incurred it? It's not politicians. It's the accounting officer and their teams. Because the only time that a report will come to MACO is when an accounting officer says, we have incurred irregular expenditure because I'm not allowed to get involved in procurement processes. I stay away. They allow a tender to lapse. And then they motivate to each other. They get along. They approve the irregular expenditure. Who gets the flag? It's the mayor. So I don't want us to present as if, you know, the case of Mkwanazi and Mchunu is like, who's the angel, who's the devil? You know, the confusing case. That you then have to say, in terms of the roles and responsibilities anchored by the legislation, who are supposed to do what? It's easy to scapegoat politicians because we're the ones who account. When I talk on TV, I don't even mention the name of the city manager. But I did not participate in anything that happened that led to that corruption because I was not involved in the tender process, because I'm not allowed by law to be involved in that. So for me, the issue of a protection of accounting officers, the accounting officers who have really soiled the reputation of accounting officers. How we know it is on the level of corruption in our municipalities, the collapsed municipalities that are under Section 139, the municipalities that keep returning funds back to National Treasury because they didn't spend them, because they didn't plan properly. The indicators are there of what is it that officials did not do that have led to the failure of local government or a municipality or an institution. The other point I just wanted to reflect on, you see the issue of permanency, there's a lot of motivation for it, but there's something that I had a discussion with the deputy directors and directors in the city of Tshwane a few weeks ago. And we need to think about it in the context of professionalization and retaining of skills and expertise. When you know that, so in the city, everyone is permanent except for the MM. A person who's a deputy director, they have no chance that in this lifetime there will be a group head or an HOD in that department. How do you keep them motivated if they know there's no prospects of upward mobility? So for me, I'm not against the making everyone permanent, but I'm saying, can we safeguard the issue of the engine, because the DDs and the director, those are the engines of an institution, and how do we keep them motivated? Should we centralize the recruitment? Maybe I'm one person who has little faith in this country and its systems and processes. So when council approves a senior manager, we send it to COCTA. Hi, shame. They leave a lot to be desired. Oversight is just not proper. They politicize oversight. They would only come in when it's politically correct for them to come in on an issue. So they would allow wrong things to happen. In Gauteng, there are cases of irregular appointments, this and this. And we have a department that's supposed to play oversight without fear or favor. And we appreciate that. But when you allow us to make such obvious mistakes in many, many other things. So for me, I've raised it in our discussions in Gauteng about the local government turnaround strategy. And I said, if you allow municipalities to run amok and COCTA is weak, these things will continue to happen. If we centralize, you will have to assure me that that process will be safeguarded. Because in South Africa, what I've said, anything can be corrupted in this country. But anything that will help us to resolve the issue, I'm for it, but I need assurances on some of these things. Thanks, DG.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So in the 25 minutes or so that's left, I think it's only fair that we also hear a little bit from members of the audience. We're going to come back to some of these issues towards the end, because it would be interesting to hear, and in your practical experience, Your Worship, your non-involvement in matters financial. But is that not exactly the opposite in other municipalities? So it becomes a case like the Madlanga Commission that, yes, these are my powers, but he told me to do so, as it happened in the Bible. Yeah, the woman told me to do so. So isn't it, we are disputing that. And maybe that's why concerns around possible protection and so on come up. And maybe also then the problem is that you want to protect your tenure, and you know that if you say no, then that's the end of your job. And then the question becomes, well, maybe you shouldn't say yes, even when the yes is going to lead you into trouble, because it might seem that the yes protects you temporarily. But the time is going to come where your yes, during that moment of fear, is going to create even much bigger problems for you. But let's go to the audience. Let's just check the appetite. Okay. Let's see. So yes, no. No, we're not going to ask questions about our bills. But I just want to recognize the hands first so that so let's see. Prof, I'm going to give numbers, and that is not out of disrespect. It's just so that as young people say, for control. For control. So Prof, you'll be number 1, DG will be number 2, Prof, you're raising your hand as well? Yes. Okay, you'll be number 3. Prof, please remember the numbers. Prof Masrimulu will be number 4. You are going to be number 5. You will be number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10 at the back. Please, let's keep them brief. Yes. Let's keep them brief so that we allow more time for engagement. Prof, over to you.
No, thank you so much, DG. This is a very interesting subject, I must say. And I think it is also good to thank SAPAM for making this kind of an opportunity for us, because I must be honest, local government is one of the areas that is not only complex, but that we don't understand. I mean, we live in these places, but we do not know what's going on there. That's a fact. So it's even worse when you bring in traditional leadership, because we're not even exposed to it. So we do not know what's going on in that space. So now, when it comes to what has been shared with us, just taking a very simple example. I mean, you ask very appropriate questions like, what will professionalization mean for local government? It's not a question that you can simply just answer, because we choose to do so. But we'll only answer that question the day we have begun to acknowledge that now we have an understanding of what's going on in local government. So I don't want to make assumptions. We've been very clear as the Public Service Commission to say, we'll be better off taking more time, spending quality time with those who are in this space, just explaining themselves about what they're up to before we can talk about how we then professionalize. The manager from our own municipality made mention of what they've done in investing on people actually getting the necessary qualifications and so on. But you see, what normally happens with many services, public service included, is that when it comes to the kind of training that we're talking about, we make too many assumptions. We don't train in a manner that is driven by a purpose. So what it basically means is that I just choose to do whatever I want to do in order to have a qualification. But that qualification has nothing to do, by the way, with the job that I'm doing. So at what point are we then going to be saying that the municipality is going to sit back and say, what are the issues here that will make us to succeed, driven by our own strategy? But the strategy is not simply just looking at the time when I'm there. The strategy is looking at beginning to develop this capable, ethical and developmental state. It's a long-term project. So which means, how do I see it unfolding over a number of decades? That's the starting point, so that what then we invest will be aligned to that. So even the question of who then gets training, you train in this area or that area and so on, well, this is what this city needs. This is what this district needs, and so on and so forth. The second part is that I like the idea, by the way, of permanency, but not permanency in a long term, but permanency in the context of a clearly defined period. Because we can ill afford a situation where you have municipal managers that can be dismissed in 3 years, without any valid reason. We want municipal managers who can at least be there for a cycle of at least 10 years. But beyond that, we should not say it then it's a cut-off point. It's a cut-off point for that municipality. So which means that that particular municipal manager can apply and be appointed elsewhere. So what I'm simply saying here addresses the question that has been raised. We cannot afford to continue with the current arrangement where you get appointed in this municipality. You must be appointed as a municipal manager, but you must serve anywhere in this country because this country belongs to everyone. There's one person who was on Robben Island when I said, I'm going home because I was going to the township. He said, no, but you are wrong. I said, what do you mean? He said, no, you can't say you are going home because you are leaving the city. This city belongs to you. You know, that made me to think differently. Because he said, no, everywhere here is your home. It's your choice where you want to be. So he said that you must have that different understanding of what it means for you. So what it means then for me, in the instance of the skills that we're looking for, let's begin to have a very clear-cut understanding that says, because we want stability in local government, we shall appoint municipal managers and they will be deployed where the need exists. It's like what used to happen. I mean, I'll give a very simple example. With teaching in the past, you'll be appointed as a teacher, but you didn't choose where you wanted to teach. You'll be appointed as a teacher, you'll be told that a school in such and such a place needs your skills, and you shall go. That is why schools were so successful. But I can tell you, at this day and age, schools have become so dysfunctional because I choose to teach around the corner. But I know nothing about what I'm teaching. But because I have buddies who can put me there, I'll end up there, which is what the executive mayor is saying, that the system then gets corrupted. So maybe what we're talking about in professionalizing is to cleanse the system. But we can't cleanse the system before we cleanse ourselves because we are corrupted to the core. So that's what we need to name and shame so that we can clear the air in that space, then begin to do the right things. So local government is too important. I mean, we can actually stop everything in this country and address local government if we want to live a better life. Because these are people who will deliver the services. But we have not even begun to have that imagination because we think that it is one of the most areas that are on the margins of society. Yet that's where we live. That is why we lose people. Now, the other point that I want to make is a controversial one. When it comes to these officers, let's actually be deliberate and say each municipality, wherever it is, let it provide those living spaces for such officials. So that if we are told that we are going to go and work in Musina, you are not going to be subjected to a situation where you are going to be looking for a place to live. But that municipality is going to provide that because it's going to be looking after you. It's going to be a safe space and so on. Across this country, I can tell you, no village will then say, we are struggling to get an engineer. But the engineer will go there. They know they will be there for this period, but there's stability because when they exit, you will appoint another engineer who's qualified, who will come because there is space. You'll be looking after them and so on. So it is kind of an arrangement that we must deploy in this country and be deliberate about it. And I can tell you, we will then make a success. But it is all these critical positions, not just mayors, not just municipal managers, even the engineers. You know, we're talking about the crisis of water. I was in the session. The crisis of water is real. But we want to appoint those water engineers and so on. But the entire country needs that. But how do we get a guarantee that we shall get them? They are there. But all of them can choose perhaps to be in Johannesburg. But we don't want them to be there. You want them to be where the need is. So if we can have that kind of system, it will take time for it to take off the ground, but we must be deliberate about it, set a process in motion, and drive it in earnest. But be guaranteed that appointments are not going to be tainted by corruption. Because if we have then done that, we shall make a success of the work that we are doing. But of course, everyone must be professionalized, not just these public officials. Even our politicians must understand what it means to be professionalized So they don't sit in a situation where you fight the battle. That is unnecessary. Not professionalized because of qualifications, but professionalized in terms of understanding. You know, you can understand without being educated in the context of a formal education, but educated in the context of the work that you have to do.
Okay.
That's the kind of professionalization we're talking about.
Okay. DG DPSA is number 2, but DG, unlike Prof, you see, Prof took his time, but he's protected by Chapter 10 of the Constitution. And all organs of state are required to support Chapter 9 and Chapter 10 institutions, and as a state functionary, I had to observe that. You're not protected by that.
No, in fact, thanks, Chair. I don't think I'll raise my question because I think Prof raised all our questions. All 10 of us, I can assure you, all 10 of us, he raised all our questions. But perhaps to make 1 or 2 contributions. Thanks very much. You know, local government is a critical sector of the 3 spheres of government. Amongst the 3, the critical sector is local government. No one lives in national government. No one lives in provincial government. All 63 million population will live in local government. That's number 1. So you must underline that. Now the issue is, moderator, what is the problem? What is the problem? We can paraphrase, we can talk professionalization, number of issues, but exactly what is the problem that faces local government? And we can deploy a necessary tool. I can assure you, moderator, professionalization that we talk about, it won't address those problems. It will not, because we need to deal with the issue of the value chain of service delivery, because that's a key element. How service get delivered, how do you modernize that service through new system of professionalization. The second issue that I can raise, Chair, Your Worship, is it not the right time that we professionalize the political structure? The deployment of cadres to local government, is it not the right time now as government to professionalize that area of work? Because it will address the issue of understanding, issue of ethics, because all issues raised, most of them, are issues of ethics and behavioral patterns. How we behave. The laws are there. This country have got laws, colleagues. We keep making laws every day. I don't think we can win. So the last contribution, Chair, is that national government must take the blame because we lack oversight and the consequence management. We know what the problem is. Look at this water. I read the report about the mayor, the MM is the wife, the CFO is the daughter, the senior manager is the uncle, and all of them, the highest standard, highest qualification is 3 months from Tabelin. It's a CFO. It's happening. And DCOC was sitting in Pretoria. We are watching. So those are things that we must address, all of us. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, just a quick announcement. There are 4 cars outside the precinct of the hotel. You are requested to move them inside because there is space available if you don't intend walking back home.
Okay. Thank you so much. My name is Khotatso Shai. I am not going to provide context or background for my questions. I'll just go straight to the question. I think I wish to pose this question. Are the community members well equipped to participate in the municipality's consultative forums? That is my first question. The second question is, what is the ideal measure of success for professionalization of the public sector or local government in this context? The last question, which is a little bit controversial, but I'm really interested in this. Can you deconstruct the meaning of the following quotations which emerge from this panel? I quote, "This is not our person," close quote. The second one is, open quote, "Hope you will work well with us." What does it mean to work well with us? What does it mean that when we say you are not our person? Does it mean you are a foreign national? Does it mean you come from our political party, or you don't come from our village? What is the meaning of this? Thank you.
Thank you.
He has the answers. Thanks, DG, and thank you so much to the panelists. Just to underscore the point that I think has already been made about the importance of local government. I spent some few days, or at least a month, in China, and if you analyze how the Chinese made it, at a core is how they actually invested so much in their local government system. That's where their success lies. That's the first point that I want to make. The second point is that as a country, we seem to be a typical example of what constitutes a fundamental contradiction. We have excellent ideas about how to reinvent ourselves. Much of those emerged as we are trying to reimagine the post-apartheid South Africa. Our biggest challenge, therefore, it is not lack of ideas, but lack of a sense of agency to act out our ideas. And this is to the extent that those who perhaps are much more strategic and clever than us came to our country and they took our excellent ideas, they packaged them, they came back and they recruit you to come to their university to come and teach you about how to make a country work. But those are your ideas. You go to Harvard, there is a case on state reform and institutional capability which Harvard is recruiting. In fact, is getting senior managers from Africa to come and teach them about how to make their institution work. Thirdly, I think we need to go deeper, and perhaps this talk more to us, perhaps as a community of scholarship. We talk so much about political administrative interface. I'm not convinced that we have adequately theorized the interface itself. I'm not convinced. And if we are not clear in terms of, at least at the theoretical level, what we mean, because remember, policy positions are shaped by particular theoretical insight, right? Because just to simply say that councillor must not be involved in the appointment or whatever of the municipal manager is good, right? But we need to nuance that, right? We need to nuance that, because if we are not going to do that, we run the risk of creating these two parts as binaries. Whether we like it or not, politicians need the top administrator need a politician, right? So that is something which I think we need to begin to also start to really think about. Let me stop here. It was just largely the comments and not really the question, but just the comment. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you. That was number 4. Number 5.
Thank you. My name is Mahaole Tswalo from the National School of Government, and who also happen to be a ward committee member at the city of Tshwane. So, Mayor, I'm not going to expose our sicknesses. But then, you know what, I think it's important that we, we professionalize politics like I don't remember who said it. Because we have a serious problem whereby most of the councillors, they are not, they don't understand their role to say, you are now holding a public office. There has to be a certain way how you behave when you go to public. I'll give a practical example whereby one of the councillors was posting a statement that for me, I felt that is going to sow divisions. And then I was like, you are a councillor, you're not supposed to post such a statement. And then she said to me, I was voted by my political party, so you're not going to say that to me. So I said to that person, you know what, I think it's time that you get exposed to National School of Government courses. So I'm recommending to you, Mayor, that send your people to the National School of Government, will capacitate them. Because we are tired of such statements, And another thing, when it comes to the ward committees, we also have a problem because even the ward committee members, they don't know what is it, the role that they should play when they are in those positions. Because you hear a person saying that, no, I'm not going to comment because it's my people. It's because that person belongs to the same political party. So what is your role as a ward committee? Because you are the link between the community and the municipality. When I see something wrong without fear or favor, I should be able to confront that person. And then another thing I was disappointed when I attended the ward committee training because even the training material was outdated. It doesn't speak to real issues and global issues like your SDGs and everything. So I challenged that the first day that I attended the meeting to say, no, your material doesn't speak to real issues. We are not here for that. So you should go back and rework on your materials. When it comes to public participation, our communities are not educated. I've seen in several instances whereby they'll come and say we are going to consult on a bylaw, and then they'll just say, I'll quote a specific example. I even said, you know what, just take this paper back because I don't understand why are you selling us a blank check? You come with a document, you say it's a bylaw. Yes, it's a summary, but then you talk about contravention of laws and what, but you don't specify the specific laws. So there's a lot that has to be done in the local government. So, Mayor, re tla bolela ge re fihla gae.
Number 6. Wait. Number 6. What number were you given?
Okay, thank you, honorable and the leaders in municipalities. I just want to comment on the issue of the link between the traditional council or the communities, especially in local governments that are in rural areas like Collins Chaban. I am like, as the MM is indicating that the Hosi are participating or they are sitting in the council. I think you must understand that the Hosi are not voted. either you are numb or active or whatever, you have to sit simply because of the birthrights. What impact do they have? Because some people will be just attending, some may not be attending. Like for an example, I'm not sure if my host is attending those meetings because I don't have a feedback. My suggestion is, let Hosi attend because of the birthrights and Coxstar is paying him and he has given him a car. But let him be accompanied by a person who will be chosen in the community, either by the traditional council or whoever they delegate to say, we want this person to travel, to go to the council with Hosi who will make an impact. Because for Hosi to sit there, even if, like sometimes like you will have Hosi who is like, all right, thank you. But then you will have Hosi Ngobe who is like, Jay, he is like a cream. Then he will be overtaking, like if something is wanted at Shiluba, it means Ngobe will get priority because of the kind of a leadership by birth that they have. But those who are not fortunate to have those wise to host, and then forever there is nothing that will happen in their communities. And I know that on a quarterly basis, the councils must go to Atikorweni to present their reports. I haven't seen one in my, like I think this year or from late last year. Our councillors has never been into the Koro to come and address the communities. And you are paying them for that. Do you demand the quarterly report to say, have you engaged your communities? Agenda, what was the topic? What was, the agenda and the attendance register. I was like worried one day when we had to sign an attendance register, and I signed that attendance register, and then I said, but the councillor is not here. Why didn't I get wiser while I was sitting in that? So you must demand those things from the councillors. And then the second thing, I think I'm covered in terms of the 10-year appointment. And then I think you will have to alter the handbook, like we have got the SMS handbook, the executive and the what ministerial handbooks that will say you will be appointed in the office for 10 years. So I am supporting what Prof has indicated. I'm not going to dwell into that. And then, what did I say? The central long process. Oh yes, in terms of the centralization of appointments. If we have got a backlog of appointments in one department, where the appointment of a post assistant director will take 6 years, 6 months, or a year, what happens then if now we are going to centralize the appointment of the strategic posts? Are you going to make it a point that within 2 months you have appointed our CFO, our HOD? Because appointment of HODs takes forever. So when you centralize them, the whole South Africa in one pot, what is your plan? Thank you.
Thank you. Number 7.
Thank you very much, DG, and the panelists that we have. DG, I do promise I'll be very brief. I am CVM Dichwa from Eastern Cape. I work for Cocta. Panelist with you, so Dolob. Please help me here. I work for Cocta. We support municipalities. Never mind the political interference. In cases where we've got capable Section 56 and Section 57 managers who were employed through a proper process, but 6 months later or a year later, Cocta must come in to go and support the very same municipality. For an example, you would have a cases of Magana. You've got qualified engineers. You've got qualified CFOs, CAs, and what have you. So what could be the issue in that instance? Because if you've subjected them to a proper competence assessment, a proper interview, qualifications are there. But why are you overloading COGTA with unnecessary support on someone that we claim to have met all the requirements and really does, but the problem remains the same? My last point on the professionalization, in my view, Sodolob, I think goes back to what you said about the organizational culture. Then secondly, because not for every problem we must introduce a policy framework, because the issue of professionalization, there was no need for introduction of that policy framework because it is provided for already in the Systems Act. So now, for once we hear something wrong, councillors, they do not have matric, then we want to quickly go and introduce a policy document. It is provided in Chapter 7 of the Systems Act. It's clear there. Even Part 4 of the same chapter, it does provide details. So I think there was no need for us, but we are able to fully implement what is already provided for in the legislation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Number 8.
Oh, sorry, ma'am, I'm number 8. You just have to figure out, okay, what was your number. Chair, thank you very much, DG and Executive Mayor and the municipal managers. My name is Ayaka Maklotwa. DG and the municipal managers, maybe I was hoping from the speakers that have been speaking, one of them will expose that from, I think from yesterday or from Monday, Monday, when the Premier did an official welcoming, we were actually talking about you. In Xhosa, they will say in Xhosa. And I think part of the things that we were talking about, firstly, Executive Mayor, there's this view that the Premier shared with us to say that as executive mayors and mayors and so on, you would have a vision and a strategy. But then the issue, MMs, will be on the implementation of those strategies and visions that the mayors has put in place. And there's a sense, okay, I think this morning as well from the AG's discussion, that there is some level of lack of accountability in terms of taking people accountable in terms of not delivering when it comes to effective service delivery. Now, I'll make an example. I am born in Enoch Mkijima in Queenstown, but it seems to be an acceptable culture that there is no water at Enoch Mkijima on a daily basis. And as someone who is a young public servant, going home and asking Umakulu, what is the issue? And said, no, we've been speaking to the councillor. And I'll confidently say, no, let me speak to the councillor. And the councillor will tell me, young man, this is how things are here. And so there is this thing of that we've got people in the system who do not have a sense of urgency, who are not bothered in terms of what is wrong in terms of effective service delivery. My last point, I think myself and the executive mayor, maybe we are from the same school of thought. Maybe get DG, this one you would want to reflect on. At some point, I was an intern then. I've heard there was what we called joint planning initiatives. We had what was called local government turnaround strategy. We have IDPs. Now recently we've got what we call DDM. And if you would sit down and read all of these documents that COGTA develops, you would maybe think, Tubana, there is no need, in fact, for these new concepts that we are developing as government. We should reach a point where we stick to one concept that we're confident about. And if we reach a point to stick to one concept that we're confident about, we will reach a point to be able to reach that effective service delivery. You know, now we've got this thing of the DDM, one plan, beautiful concept. that says bring the whole of government together, bring the private sector, the stakeholders, the non-government stakeholders to come together and implement a one plan. But you still hear a provincial government saying, no, as COCTA, I'll come with a DTM project there. No, as DST, I have a DTM project. And I'll sit there and ask myself, but we have a one plan that is existing at a district level. Why, when do you still want to come with your own DTM project? Let us rather collect resources, mobilize resources to go and implement that. So what I'm trying to say is that maybe as government, let's go and reassess these plans that we have. We say strengthening local service delivery in local government and see which one is working best. And all of us will work towards that direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's come to number 9. Let's go to number 9. Let's go to number 9. Enoch Mgijima is the one with that famous stadium, eh? Okay.
Askis Mada, I am number 9. Thank you very much, Chairperson of the evening. My name is Dr. Brenda Roberts Debejani. I am from a municipality in the Northwest called JB Max Local Municipality, but here today I wrote with the Northwest University. My home place is that Ditsobotla Local Municipality, which I proudly did work for. And when we worked there, it had a clean audit and it even won an award of the most clean city during those years. So local government will get somewhere there. My question is for the municipal managers. The introduction of the central supplier database, even when you say it now, central supplier database, you are thinking you are centralizing procurement. Don't you think centralization should at least be on procurement? Because with employment, it's not an issue. It's not as corrupt as the procurement processes. As we sit here today, even junior officials are signing requests. So centralizing procurement will be the issue that we need to have a discussion on. It is the problem where we are discussing UIFNW. The Auditor General's report is talking about money. We are talking money. We are here to talk about money. Money makes the world go around. So if we centralize procurement in South Africa, I'm thinking that's where we will be going in the right direction. And my second point goes to you, DG. Corruption not reported, it is assumed that it is not there. I'm saying this because looking at the number of cases that are with the SIU, the Hawks, and it's on social media, comparing it with the UIFNW registers, it is not correlating. So it is assumed if something it is not reported or it is not known or it cannot be proven, it is not there. So what are we doing to ensure that this unreported corruption, it is rooted out? My third question goes to the EM. EM, I'm also a PhD in practice, but I'm seeing a gap because a PhD is kept alive with continuous research. Otherwise, you become obsolete. We are in government, we are working, we are practicing daily. But if you tend to not write or you are not adopted by one of these academics, you die down. What is it that you are doing to ensure that you become relevant in terms of becoming a doctor in practice? What is it that you are doing? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 10.
Thank you. I have 2 submissions. My first one is for the Director General. So I wanted to request you to petition the President to cancel the national dialogue. I think all of the issues have been covered in this forum. My second one is for the Executive Mayor. I just wanted to appreciate the excellent work, ma'am, that you're doing. I've almost been convinced to relocate my family from Cape Town to Tshwane. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Another round of applause for those valuable comments. Sorry? Yeah, my worry is that it's 8:05 now. So I counted up to 10. We've taken all the 10. So are we opening the floor again? So my proposal, colleagues, is that we're not going to exhaust the conversation here. As we leave and go for dinner, and experts at the University of Venda have, in terms of their research, found that it is not preferable to eat too late after 8 o'clock in the evening. So I think let's continue with this conversation. We're not going to be able to exhaust everything here because I would want to give the panelists a parting shot, an opportunity in a minute or two in terms of the issues that have been raised, and then we'll then see how we pull everything together as we bring this very exciting panel discussion to a close. Let's start with you, MM.
Thank you very much. I think the first part that I would speak to on the professionalization, that speaks to community members. I'll just give an example with Oshana region in Namibia. It's one of the northern regions in Namibia. The setup there is that the community members have ownership of municipalities in a way that they support municipality, they support municipal initiatives. I think it's basically what the mayor was presenting here. It cannot only be employees, expectation from communities on municipal employees, but what role are we playing as community members to turn around the situation? I mean, the basic things, your cleaning campaigns, your ethical leadership in your respective leadership positions in the community, but you still say wrong things, but you do not report. What I always say in the office, it becomes very difficult for me to see most of the things happening on the streets because I'm always caged in my small cubicle. But you working in the community, you're passing through potholes, overflowing drains, this and that, but we do not report. But I think I will couple that with corruption. Almost all municipalities would have a suggestion box. We've had it for the past 10, 15 years. That's how long I've been with that municipality. It takes 5 months at times or even a year without even a single thing in that box. But community members are always saying municipalities are not responding to the issues. Similarly to your public participation in engagements, I told the group that I was earlier on, we try our best, almost every possible move we could do to consult community members. I'm telling you, we've got monthly ward-based mass meeting, we've got IDP representative forums, we've got IDP public participation, mayoral imbizos, but who are the participants? What are the issues they're raising there? You see, I think in the interest of time, DG, let me give a space to other members to speak to the issues. Thank you very much.
Thanks, DG. Let's close the gap between academy and practice. Researchers should begin to be practical. Don't just wake up in the morning and say, I want to research about this, without finding a practical meaning of what you want to do. We are agreeing here that local government is very complex. And if we agree that local government is complex, then don't just wake up and decide on a topic. Come to local government, create a space as academy wherein you network at a level of conceptualizing or coming up with a topic. You say, Prof, my student, I'm taking you to College Chavani. We have set up a networking session with administration there. They will be presenting to you different kind of activities that they are doing on a daily basis. When you go back with your student, they are going to be practical. You know, there are so many PhDs, masters, and all the things, which if you are to take it today and you want to put it into practice, you will find that there is nothing that you can get from that paper. you know. So we need research that is based, you know, is practical, you know, is realistic. That if you are researching about College Chabane, if I, as the MM, and say, can you give me that research that about the topic that I once approved? Then if I get that document and read it, out of that document, I will be able to get something and put it into practice for the community to get that help. DG, you should not even fear centralized appointment of top officials in government. We're not saying everyone, but we're saying the top ones. Please centralize it. You will see it will assist, and it will immediately answer the question that you raised to say, what is this one is not our own. If I'm appointed at a central place, I don't belong to anyone. But if I'm appointed at a particular small corner, I belong to those who appointed me. That is given. And their expectation should be met. And that's it. The issue of traditional leaders, one of the person asked question about traditional, or made comment about traditional leaders. Let me tell you, if you don't know, our traditional leaders are very brilliant. They are very wise. The fact that some of them cannot speak English or read and write, does not mean they don't know. We engage with traditional leaders on a daily basis. And be that as they are, we get a lot of education from them. I've given an example to say, with our engagement with traditional leaders, we are making sure that we are turning around the economy of College Chabane. You made mention, it's not even, he went out, that the Premier spoke about MMs. You should not worry about that. It is always the case. When MMs are meeting, we talk about mayors. When mayors are meeting, they talk about MMs. It is always the case, and we are used to that. You should not worry about it. The issue of your concept, you know, I've been in local government for a long time. The time I entered local government DG, the minister was, I think, the late Stelo Streka. May his soul rest in peace. He came with the concept of clean audit. Yes, thank you. When he went out, Praveen Godan came in, may his soul rest in peace. He came with the back to basic thing. After him is another concept. Today we're talking DDM. You know what causes all the things? This is not our concept. This is not my clean audit. It's not my concept. Let me come with my own. Back to basics is not my concept. Let me come with my own. And unfortunately, all the thing is happening in the space where the people are expecting service delivery. We find it very hard on a daily basis to adjust to different concepts. Because now that we're talking about the DDM, it doesn't come alone. It comes with lot of reporting that you need to stop whatever that you were doing for the past 10 years. Now you need to adjust to new line of reporting, the new way of doing things. And this is happening to people, you know, that every day they were used to this system. Now you stop this, now you start to do this. Before you know it, there will be a new concept because local government are finishing now. The national elections are coming. There will be somebody there come with a new concept again. And they expect you as MMs to quickly adjust to this kind of concept. Now, you've been getting clean audit during the concept of back to basics. Now, the new concept of DDM, you're getting qualified. When you're getting used to it so that you improve your audit, there is a new concept. So that is the predicament that we are sitting with. As I conclude, local government will remain problematic, and I'm happy that one of you said we don't exist in a vacuum. Whether it's national government or provincial government, it is hosted by local government somewhere. That is why some municipalities like City of Tshwane, they will even be proud to say we are hosting union building. You know, the City of Cape Town, they will tell you we are hosting parliament. So all these spheres of government, they are hosted by local government. And up until, as I conclude, DG, up until we stop protecting people who have never been to school to occupy top political position, professionalization will never happen. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we can say you've covered us, MM, but I'm a politician. I don't let a mic pass. I think the first thing, colleagues, the biggest mistake that we can do as this country is to weaken local government. In 2010, my master's dissertation was on the centralization of local government in South Africa. That was exactly after the report of late Minister Shikeka, who came with a report in 2009 that already then we knew that local government was in trouble in 2009. 2010, naive student in me say, but this is how we are centralizing local government and we are going back to what the intentions of decentralization and the meaning that is attached to decentralization. That would be the biggest mistake that we do. Now, what we are seeing more and more, as one colleague of mine in Gauteng said, COGTA and National Treasury are becoming shop stewards for Rainwater and ESCOM. They've forgotten their role. I do believe in the wisdom of the Constitution and the initial legislations that made sure that there are checks and balances between local government, provincial government, and national government, but don't weaken local government. That would be my first thing, because I always say to colleagues, you assume that provincial and national government are succeeding. Now you're giving them a role to come and destroy local municipalities. And so, but colleagues, we're not going to solve this unless this country has a clear vision and a direction. Right now, there was NDP 2030. Where is that NDP? Because for as long as we don't have a vision that anchors us, how you then operationalize by strengthening local government, by fighting corruption? That's the how. What are we solving for in South Africa? We've entered the second 30 years of democracy. What are we solving for? And for me, for as long as there's that mixed message coming from the top in terms of what is it or how is this South Africa gonna be in the next 30 years? For me, these things become operational. But just a few points on the issues that were raised. I think the first thing is that local government is becoming too complex, colleagues. It's too busy. It's a waste of time. Local government was supposed to be the sphere closest to these people, basic services. That was the mandate. Right now, I can't recognize local government. But then globally, someone said, but the information is outdated globally. Globally, we are told cities are the main players, that we must prepare and govern as if we are states these days. Because globally, exactly the point that MM was raising, the population that is growing in cities. The bulk infrastructure backlog, it's in cities. The need for advancement in trying different ways and explore technologies, it must happen at a city level. Now, how do we do this if we're still complaining about a councillor that doesn't have grade 12? Right? Because, so there's that. But the second part is the issue of deployment of political leaders. I heard the President of the Republic, I think last week, saying that, no, political parties must take responsibility. But we can't not pay attention to society, colleagues. These solutions must be anchored in a reality that is our society. If you go to a ward that's 100% black, And it's a ward where there is no bulk infrastructure, there are backlogs in service delivery. People are uneducated. Who do you think they're going to elect to represent their views? It's not a PhD candidate. It's going to be a person who speaks like them, who looks like them, who say exactly what they want to hear. How do we strike the balance? And then we then say, okay, you've got half the ward councillors, then we accept it's going to be those people. And then half is going to be PR councillors. At least we beg parties, at least use your PR councillor to bring in skill. Until one municipality, which I'm not going to mention because I saw a video here. So in that municipality, I wasn't aware there was a video. In that municipality, the person who became mayor was the most educated among the lot because he had a post-matric, which was some degree in teaching. That's how he became mayor. And that municipality is collapsing as we speak. Now, yeah, so there's that. Let me move, sorry, DG. I think the question whether community members are capacitated to participate, it's no. The uneducated community members, you bring a bylaw. As you were saying, our officials will want to pretend that they were not raised by uneducated people. They confuse people with presentations. They don't explain things properly. Magogo stand up and say, "I pothole next to Ijara Dalaka, can you please fix it?" Because they don't understand what we are saying. Local government is too hard, guys. It's too complicated. So there is that. So no community members. And the middle class of South Africa is so unpatriotic. They don't come to government programs because they are sorted. I'm sure even here there are people who don't attend community meetings, don't even know who your ward councillor is. Middle class in South Africa, I've got an issue with them, but that's one thing. This is not our person. It's a system, it's a value chain. As says, so basically someone must appoint someone who's going to enable their corruption, their patronage, and their nepotism. That's basically what it means. So they would go approach that person. There's a position in the city. Do you want it? Do you have the qualifications? Can we push you through in terms of cleaning our books? Yes. But in return, you must work well with us. That's basically what it means. Yes. Yeah, so basically that's what it is. But I think to end off, we've got a bigger crisis. Coalitions. We don't have matured leaders to handle coalitions at all levels. And I'm part of a coalition with 10 political parties. Different ideologies. You go left, you go center, you go up, you go down. All the ideologies you can think of, they are in my coalition. But we don't want to confront a changing environment. We want to work around it. You know that coalition governance is changing politics or governance the way we understood it. A former colleague of Tshwane left to a municipality in Limpopo and said, no, but you know, one thing I appreciate here is that the center holds, because the mayor is also the regional chair or provincial chair, something like that. The center is holding. But coalition takes that away. It creates more confusion where parties within the same coalition start communicating past each other. You saw the VAT issue, for instance, in Parliament. Now, this is where we need evidence-based, the theories that is going to start shifting the conversation, because if you think politicians are going to lead that conversation, no, we are looking to benefit from the chaos. Now we need the academia. I hope that video is off. I think, let me pause here, DG, but the issue of coalitions as the future, it's gonna complicate whatever is frustrated by. Because in that case, even negotiating who's gonna sit in a panel to recruit that senior manager, it's double the complication. So it's another aspect that I think even the proposals to say introduce a threshold, it's treating the symptom, not the real problem. And just for the record, I don't think we needed to review the white paper. I think everything is sorted. We just need to implement what we have.
Well, let's thank the panelists one more time. Another round of applause. Thank you so much. Very, very informative session indeed. I'm not going to try to summarize everything, but I think I should just highlight a few touch points as take-home points. Firstly, I think the discussions have underscored the importance of local government. And it became clear throughout the discussion and the inputs that have been made that in whatever we do, let's understand how important local government is, and let's not weaken local government in whatever interventions we come up with. But there was also a sense that we need to see how we deal with the proliferation of interventions and the potential confusion that they may cause. But of course, ultimately, there has to be an understanding that at the heart of these interventions, it's really about getting local government to work. Whether you're talking about back to basics, you're talking about clean audits, you're talking about an integrated approach through the district development model, it might just be that the labeling introduces something new, but you go deeper into it, it's really just about getting local government to work. But when we're talking about professionalization and recruitment and selection, the sense created also is that we should balance the need to create stability in the appointments that we make, but balance it with the risk of breeding complacency and all the other evils that may come, corruption and so on, because I know I am here, the MM here said, I have the freedom. I have the freedom. Now let's create that kind of balance. And then also with these appointments, let's appoint for the system and not for an institution. And I think that's how it's done in other countries where an independent body such as the Civil Service Commission does the appointments. They don't appoint for departments. They appoint for the system. So once you have been appointed, then it means that you are capable enough to function in different institutions as opposed to being linked to an institution. Of course, it creates a challenge in terms of how you deal with that, both in terms of our constitution and the subsidiary legislation that we have. The other point that came out very strongly is that of just having a grounded approach to professionalization. Do we understand what we mean by it? What is it that needs to be professionalized? Who is it that needs to be professionalized? And we are being challenged here to say maybe we have not actually interrogated this concept adequately when we say professionalized local government. What exactly do we mean? And is there a shared understanding of what that means and what ultimately will be the real measure of success where professionalization is concerned? There was a discussion about training as well and about the relevance of the training that is being provided. An issue was raised that we have sector departments that come and train us in rural municipalities where the needs relate to issues such as rural roads, for example, but the training is on something else. And there has also been offers, Your Worship, that, and I could tell there's a little bit of self-marketing that was coming up there by the National School of Government that we can offer the training. And for a moment, I wondered whether the training from central and sector departments that we were talking about, whether you were not including the National School of Government in that. But I think there's something critical around that in terms of training that needs to be offered. And then a focus on what was mentioned here as a sense of urgency. We debate, we conceptualize, come up with lots of ideas and so on and so on. And then we just fail at the last hurdle of just ensuring implementation. And that's why Prof. Masululo would say, well, other people then are watching and they take those ideas and then they sell those ideas back to you because we are lacking when it comes to that sense of agency in the work that we do. And then, of course, this big concept of political administrative interface. We talk a lot about it, but again, have we really interrogated it adequately? And I think if you look at political political administrative interface as it obtains in local government, the dynamics there are different. As it obtains in provincial governments, the dynamics there are different. As it obtains in national departments, the dynamics there are different. I know that in terms of work that was done previously by the Public Service Commission, they even broadened the understanding to say at that interface, as the accounting officer, you're not just dealing with the minister. You have the minister, you have the deputy minister, you have the chief of staff, you have the advisors, you have the head of communications, you have the head of the deputy minister's office. A lot of them come to you saying, minister says. Quite often, minister never said that. Minister said that, but they carry that authority to say minister says, and depending on how you interact with them, in turn it affects the relationship that we have with them. So I think that's the issue that is being raised here, that have we really interrogated this concept, and I'm sure it is even much more complicated in terms of the number of role players at local government level that you have to interface with. And then community participation and the role of Amakosi. That interface between local governance and traditional governance needs to be looked at, and where issues of capacity are required, let's attend to that, including participation of communities in general, not just Amakosi. And it just got me wondering whether perhaps the time hasn't come for us to think about new ways of community engagement, because your worship, when you say the middle class, you're worried about their participation. It might just be that the traditional models of community participation, they don't work for them. They don't work for them. And then, of course, the young people looking for different ways of we're discussing this the other day when we were talking about poor tenor when it comes to elections, amongst young people in particular. They are not interested. But how do we reach out to the young people and make sure that, that sense of civic duty is inculcated in them? If we are going to call community meetings the way we used to, will they come? So maybe it calls for those kinds of new ways of participation. We shouldn't leave out the issue of corruption. We shouldn't leave that one out. And perhaps this is another area where more work needs to be done around how we heighten ethical conduct, because it looks like that it keeps deepening and deepening and deepening, and communities are complaining, but at some point they also then get involved because they don't have any other choice. Because for me to benefit, for me to get services, for me, I end up having to pay something. And then maybe it's just some work that needs to be done around that, because I know that we end up rationalizing it. We end up rationalizing it that we pay traffic fines. It's not corruption because everybody does it. We end up falsifying tax records. It's not corruption because everybody does it. Or you end up doing it, but you rationalize it and say, but this one I won't get caught. And all forms of moral philosophies that inform your rationalization of your unethical conduct that leads to corruption being rooted the way in which it is. Of course, there's a strong point that has been raised about our interface between us as practitioners and academia, that there must be relevance in the research that has been done. There was one dissertation that was making rounds on social media. I don't know whether it is just one of those fake ones, Prof. Masrimule, but it was about the perceptions of people in Katlehong about yellow bones. So it was making rounds. It was making rounds on social media, and so there's an issue of relevance here. But was it from UJ? Okay, well, if it's Professor Spamanda's on here. But I think equally it challenges us as public servants that we should be reflective practitioners. we should, I mean, we do these master's degrees and PhD degrees, but when we get to work, we are not using the tools of disciplined inquiry that we learned from the university to make sure that we develop case studies, which can even be used at university. So it's not just about universities having to change their focus and say, let's worry about the relevance. It's about us as well to ensure that that relevance takes place. Well, Your Worship, you're saying that there is no need to review the white paper. Well, the process is happening. So if perhaps there are difficult things relating to coalitions and so on, it might be that some of these issues require policy instruments. If the window is open, which will be running until March next year, let's take advantage of that opportunity to introduce the change that we would like to see. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me once again to thank the panel members that we've had here. Are you going to bribe them?
How much are they?
Because they have to declare. They have to declare when they come back, when they go back to work. All right. Yes, and they will be, and you'll be caught on camera receiving. Yes. Me too. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Oh. Okay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, from the panel members and I. It's a thank you and good night.